Time now to take a closer look at the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have State Representative Corey Malloy and former State Senator Jim DeBackus. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, this should be a explosive discussion between the two of you, I think. Let's take up gun reform first. Senate Democrats really pushing this during the week, saying, you know, Leader McConnell, bring this up for a vote. It passed in the House. The American people want it. Jim, should it come up?
It's a lame thing the Democrats are trying to do anyway. I mean, all it is registration. So that you want to buy a weapon, you register. So I have a beef that the Democrats are so timid. But all it is universal registration. Who would be opposed to that? What I want to know is, when is the Utah legislature and our Congress, when are they going to simply say you can no longer have an assault weapon? Why would you want an assault weapon? For hunting? For fun? That's where I think they ought to be going. And the registration, universal registration, just should happen automatically by one of those votes where everybody just agrees.
Okay, Representative, a lot to dig into there, but first, why aren't we seeing a vote in the Senate?
Well, I don't think there's a stomach for a vote. I don't think they want to see universal background checks. I think it would be bad for the American people, and I disagree. I think the American people, who we would many people would call the silent majority, would not be in favor of universal background checks, and they would love to use their AR-15s for fun and shooting and having a good time.
Killing children in elementary schools?
But that we're talking about criminals and murderers who are doing that.
Look,
but the law-abiding citizens of this country are not doing that.
If I had a hobby, like I'm a stamp collector, I'm not really, but I made that up, and suddenly I found out that there were going to be thousands and thousands of people killed by my hobby, I might get another hobby. For goodness sakes, how many kids are going to die with assault weapons before you say no more?
Hopefully no more. That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but how do we get to that point?
Well, in my opinion, I think we're focusing on the wrong things. A lot of people want to take that are for gun control. They just want to take away guns. There's an agenda to take away guns from all of the American people.
Assault weapons.
And
yes.
Assault weapons and any other gun that goes bang. And so that's the agenda. What we really need to be focusing on is doing research and science on what's causing these people to want to harm and do people.
Except
we're putting a lot of blame on law-abiding citizens and taking away their rights for people who are going out and killing. They're criminals, they're murderers, and it breaks the hearts of all of the American people. We need to remember that.
All right, Jim.
Except the Republicans in the Senate have precluded for a generation any money to be spent by the Center for Disease Control or any federal money to be spent on research about killing. So, I mean, you may be in favor of it, but talk to Hatch. Well, you don't have to talk to him anymore, but talk to the rest of them anymore.
Okay,
anyway,
but one possible solution people are talking about is a red flag law. Is that something we should explore?
Well, I think the problem with red flag laws is it's all hearsay. It's based on hearsay and other people's words, and law enforcement shows up and they arrest the firearms. And then it's up to the person to then go defend why his firearms were taken away. If the red flags are hot enough or serious enough, why aren't they taking the person who's going to actually commit the crime or the so-called crime? And in the same light, we're talking about people who have not committed crimes or anything to that point. They're just going on hearsay. So again, I would say we need to focus on what the real issues are and not focus on just taking away the guns from law-abiding citizens.
Many of the most recent mass shooters, Parkland really comes to mind, relatives had deep, grave concerns about these individuals, and they were reported.
So that, sorry.
No,
is it
go
his
ahead.
turn?
No, go ahead.
So
I've never seen that happen.
I think the point is the system has broken down. I mean,
yes.
here in Utah, we have laws in place that would stop those kinds of situations. But if those laws don't work, if they're not enforced, if they don't go into effect, then these
get
kinds
rid
of
of the
things
assault weapons. Just get rid of them.
I don't see how breaking the law, taking away assault weapons,
Because if people can't get them, they can't take them into elementary schools and kill kids.
One question,
That's the
though.
issue.
One
but
question,
they would still
Jim.
get them and they would break the law.
That's what I was going to ask. What's to keep someone from getting them on the black market anyway?
You're going to make it harder, which is good. You have a buyback program. They did this in Australia after Australia started catching up with this kind of crazy people going out with guns and slaughtering people, and it doesn't happen anymore. Why are we the only country in the world that has this happen?
Well,
other countries don't have it happen.
I don't think we are the only country. It's happened in many places around the world. From what I'm hearing,
It
it's
certainly
not
happens
working
a lot more
in
here, though.
Australia. Well, we live here.
Why are you defending this?
I'm not defending.
What if it was one of your grandchildren?
I am not.
This is serious business. Assault weapons. Can't you give up assault weapons?
Who's using those assault weapons in those?
Who cares?
In those atrocities?
They're dying. Yeah. People are dying. Just get rid of them.
But
we'll give you a shotgun.
We'll give you, Representative, one last word on this before we move on to the next topic.
Okay. You got to remember, regardless of the situation, we're talking about criminals, we're talking about murderers who are committing these atrocities. And we have to stay focused on that. The majority of law-abiding citizens who own guns are not doing this, and the fact that the guns are available doesn't mean that these atrocities will stop. So I'm not defending atrocities. They're terrible, terrible things. And everybody in the country is traumatized every single time, including gun owners who are law-abiding citizens.
Okay. Let's move on to one other topic real quick. I think that's all what we're going to be able to get in. But ballot initiatives. We saw the legislature during the week pass another bill on the medical marijuana law, basically taking not completely but more steps toward what Prop 2 was originally. Prop 3, the replacement bill, we're seeing it's on track to just revert back to Prop 3 anyway. Did the legislature make a mistake in modifying those?
Look, the legislature said, we got a better plan than the voters. And they came up with this harebrained, cockamamie, screwball, Rube Goldberg, spent millions of dollars, and then somebody like Sim Gill told them, by the way, it's illegal to have marijuana by federal law. And they went, oh no! So after a year and a half and millions of dollars of setting this whole thing up, they came back and changed it. They are so out of their element. The legislature ought to just pack it up, go with what the people said, and get the medical marijuana out helping the people instead of all of this continual stalling. If everybody knew how many bureaucrats and how much horror with state government is going on now and new people being hired, and it's a catastrophe.
All right, Representative, are these cases where the legislature should have just let them go as they were passed?
Well, I think the bottom line is medical cannabis is going to be available to people who can benefit from it. I think ultimately that's what everybody wants at this point. And I think what's going on in the legislature is working out some of the kinks. There's obviously kinks that will prevent it from being rolled out properly, and or other things that would make it very difficult. So I think what the legislature's done is are things that will help the process work better and more smoothly and get it to more people sooner. I think the deadline for the rollout is still on track. We'll see if that continues, but I think there's every effort being made to make sure that happens.
Okay, we have about a minute left. Given what you just said, did the legislature lose some trust from voters?
The voters voted one way, and the legislature very, very gently tapped him on the head and said, no, we know better. Look, what they've done with medical marijuana is bad, but what they've done with medical marijuana, what they've done with Medicaid expansion, where $850 million a year that would be going to help families in desperate need of health care, and the legislature refuses to give it since 2014. The legislators ought to be deprived of their health care until those low-income Utah families get it. Okay. They've been playing politics.
I can give you 10 seconds left for the final word. What do you got?
Well, I think you know, have we disappointed the voters? I would say, I think in some of these initiatives, yes, they're disappointed. At the same time, the elected officials are also elected by the voters. And so I think they expect us to go and do what we think will be best.
Okay, we're going to have to end it on that note. Gentlemen, great discussion. Just like I thought it would be. Great to have you with us. Thanks for being here. And we
already
will
got
be
one
right
out.
back.